It's funny how quickly things change in baseball. Some of the teams that are absolute juggernauts, powerhouses, yeah, sure things to dominate have been struggling, losing, and that includes their players for fantasy all of a sudden falling off the map. Let's figure out what's going on. Should you panic? And if so, exactly how much? But more importantly, what do you do about it? Now you probably thought I was hinting at the Yankees or the Mets. Sorry, New York, it's not all about you. Before I talk about those struggling teams, let's start with a team that's still winning, as you would predict. It's the Dodgers, but all of a sudden, a couple of their star players who were their very best early in the season have suddenly taken a turn for the worse. And that includes their ace, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Who Yamamoto, why you hate June? This is a pitcher who legitimately, after the first 2 months of the season, was probably the front runner for the Cy Young Award in the National League. He was just completely dominant in every single start, but I don't know what has gone on. He must just not like the summer season or something is going on because in 4 starts in the month of June, he's got an 0-3 record and he's seen his ERA go from an impeccable 1.97 up to 2.76, which is still really, really good, but that means that over his last couple of starts, he's been really, really bad. In 2 of those starts, he's actually had more walks than strikeouts, which is highly unusual for him. He had only given up more than 3 earned runs in a game once over the first 2 months, and in the last 4 starts, again, he's done that twice. Now, the good news is his next start is lined up to be against the Rockies, but it is in Colorado. And I will say, at first, this was a no-brainer. He's like, you got to start him. Now you actually have to take a step back and wonder, is he going to continue to struggle? The Rockies in Colorado, they could eke out a couple of runs. It is possible. Look, even bad teams have good games. So I think it's fair to ask, is it time to consider benching Yamamoto, or is there a reason to even consider that? So as usual, I dove into the data and tried to figure out, is there a reason to panic here? And nothing that I can find stands out as anything more than just this being a bad couple of weeks, having some command issues. The only thing I noticed is that his four-seam fastball, which is the pitch he leads with the most. Now, he has a lot of pitches he throws at batters, but this is still the one that has the highest usage. The four-seamer is just getting hit a lot more. Over the past month, a 333 batting average against, whereas usually he was getting it closer to 200. And the location hasn't changed that much. I feel like he's just kind of leaving it over the zone a little bit more than usual. Again, there's nothing drastic here, no velocity drop, nothing really that stands out as a big red flag. It's just the four-seamer's been a little more flat. Now, this just happens, pitchers sometimes just lose their feel for a pitch for a while, or, maybe honestly get a little lackadaisical, and that might be it. And also, even though you might think, well, this isn't really a tangible thing, regression seems to be pretty real. So he was not going to keep a sub-2 ERA all season long, was he? This is it. This is just his bump in the road, right? This is where some regression comes and his numbers start to look a little bit more human. It's a lazy explanation, I guess, but it's all I got because I can't find any reason to really worry that Yamamoto all of a sudden has just lost it. So frankly, I don't care who his next opponent is. I'm still rolling him out there. You got to keep him in your lineup. Don't panic sell. Definitely don't drop. Please don't drop. And I don't think you really need to bench him. It's still the Rockies. I think he should be fine. And just going forward, he should still be one of the best pitchers in the National League. So the panic meter here, if I've got to put a number on it, which I don't, but I'm going to do anyways because I like to, let's keep it at a 3, all right? At least we just can't summarily dismiss all of the bad turns he's had lately. But at the same time, I can't really find a reason to say that you should be worried. Now, what about fellow Dodger Teoscar Hernandez? You might recall that after the first month of the season, he was looking like a front runner for NL MVP. Not that we thought that would really happen, but there's some people saying, like, this guy's the best player in all of fantasy. Because in April alone, he had 7 home runs, 24 RBIs. He was hitting 330. He was doing it all. He's on the best lineup in baseball, right? This guy's just going to have his best season of all for some reason at age 32. So you see what's going to happen here, where this is going. He was bound to come back down a little bit to earth. So in May, only 1 home run. He did hit 263, at least that was still respectable. To some extent, you can write this off as related to injury because he did have a brief IL stint, bounced back, seemed like he was fine. But the numbers haven't really been fine because so far in June, Well, he does have 3 home runs at least. He's hitting 162. And all told, we've seen a huge drop off from that first month. So the season long stats are still pretty solid by this point of where we are. Not too far off from the All Star break. Got 14 homers, 51 RBIs, 263 average. It looks good, but again, you keep in mind that a lot of that came really early in the season, and we've seen a huge decline. But this is really exactly like his teammate Yamamoto. I've got no reason to think that Teoscar Hernandez is just all of a sudden dead in the water in the middle of the season. Yeah, he had a great hot start, and he picked the first month to be his best month of this season. And it seems like he's picked June, the time we're right now, to have his worst month. He'll get better. He'll be fine. There's nothing going on here. Nothing to see here, really. Let's just move on. If you got Teoscar Hernandez, I mean, you don't have to play him every single day, but you might miss out on a homer or a couple RBIs. But I think he'll be fine. The panic level here, I guess let's just put it at a 4. All right, now both a player and a team that have done a huge 180 over the last couple of weeks. Same division, San Diego Padres look like they might be contenders to win the NL West. Now all of a sudden, you got to wonder what's up with that offense that was the best for about a week, and now it's gone just ice cold across the board. So who's to blame here? Everybody. But I want to look at Jackson Merrill, which you might think this is a weird time to look at him. Look, he has been struggling since way before that concussion happened, and this is one of those kind of fluky injuries. It had nothing to do with his performance. Also seems odd maybe that Jackson Merrill, before he hit the IL, was actually coming off a 5-game hit streak. But there's a lot more to this, because if you have Jackson Merrill, you realize he has really been underachieving based on your expectations. Now, when he first came off the IL earlier in the season, he was red hot. I mean, he was flirting with a 400 batting average, albeit, of course, very early in the season, but still, he was red hot. But you know what he has not been doing all year long? Helping you with home runs or steals. So sure, he's got his batting average over 300 for the season. His last home run was May 27th. His last stolen base was in April. And that's a red flag for me. Not only that he only has 1 steal this entire season, he hasn't even been trying to steal. In fact, his injury, the concussion that we just talked about, that came on a steal attempt where he was caught stealing. That was his first time he even tried to run in forever, and you see how it turned out. So why is a guy, again, I say guy, a kid, guy coming off his rookie season, had 24 homers and 16 stolen bases, and now, 1 year later, Jackson Merrill, not quite halfway through the season, he's got 5 home runs and only 1 steal. I am a little bit concerned here, because this seems like this is related to the team philosophy. You know, very early in the year, the Padres were running a fair bit as a team. But all of a sudden, they've dropped down now. They're 17th in stolen base attempts per game. The last couple of weeks, they're barely running at all. I'm not sure why they decided this was the way to go, but it doesn't seem to be helping them. You know what? Maybe they're just not getting on base enough to even try to run. So I have no doubt Jackson Merrill will still help you with batting average going forward. Everything points to that being legit. But if he's not getting you a 2020 or 2015 season anymore, is he really a star player? Are you getting what you bargained for here with Jackson Merrill? You know, we just assume that when a guy has a great rookie season like Merrill did last year, that he takes a step forward, becomes even better in year 2. And that does not always happen despite our expectations. We do tend to get carried away by our rookies and prospects, don't we? So I'm not here to dog on Merrill. I'm just here to tell you that I don't know if we're going to see a return to the numbers from last year going forward. He's got some power, but at the same time, his profile doesn't scream 25 to 30 homer season. And what we've seen so far is it's probably not in the cards. Same thing with the steals. My panic level here for him, rest of season, fantasy-wise, is at a 7. I do think once he does come off of the IL, you might want to consider even trying to sell high. Now, before I get to another very young outfielder that does warrant discussion, let me throw this one at you first. Great team, the Tigers. Jack Flaherty, great pitcher. It depends on the day. We've had concerns about Flaherty before, right? Earlier in the season, he was dropped by many because he just couldn't put together even close to a quality start. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, he figured it out. He was rolling. And then now, look at what we have. After a string of 4 straight quality starts, he's given up 15 earned runs just over the last 2 starts combined. That brings his season numbers to a very unappealing 4.83 ERA. a decent 1.21 whip, and look, he's got 93 Ks over just 78 innings. So it's a mixed bag here. If you look at the big picture, I mean, really his season long ERA has been inflated by, I would say, four especially bad starts, and most of the rest of them have been pretty good. Now, of course, that doesn't help you if you just keep him in your rotation, and you don't really know when those bad starts are going to come. Is there another one coming this next time out? Is he going to continue the string of bad starts, or does he turn it around again like he did before? Like I did before, gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, especially because his next start is scheduled to be at home against the Athletics, and then after that he gets Washington. Not especially scary. Now, if he was playing at Sacramento in that ballpark, I might be a little more leery, but I think he can get right. He could definitely rack up some Ks against both those teams. So I think you're going to have to trust Flaherty here. Now, you don't have to, of course. Depends on the depth of your league and your situation, how your ERA already looks. But again, this is probably just a blip in the road for a veteran pitcher. And for better or worse, you know what? The ratios are always at some risk with Flaherty, but great chance to give you some Ks always, and a great chance to get you a win with the Tigers now. My panic level here is kind of right there in the middle, 5. Not because I have any reason to worry about Flaherty specifically, performance-wise, just because he's one of those pitchers you never quite know. All right, now this one. I knew we'd get questions before the live stream. I already had it prepared here. Roman Anthony, yep, the number one prospect in baseball. And after about a week in the majors, we're panicked, aren't we? And look, you should be at least somewhat concerned. You should definitely be questioning whether you keep him in your lineup. And I think it's fair to ask whether you hold on to him. So he's been hitting 111 so far, got exactly one homer so far and one steal. I think it goes without saying the counting stats aren't exactly there yet. The batting average is highly questionable. Here's the good news. His strikeout rate is not high, 22.5%. His walk rate is high at 15%, and really all of the expected statistics are encouraging. You know, he's got an xWOBA of 397. That's really high. Expected slugging is 551. Exit velocity is good. He's squaring the ball up. He's not chasing too much. He really should be doing better. And now that doesn't really make you feel good inside when he's going 0 for 4, 0 for 3, and really just not doing anything for you. But let me back up again and remind you, he's been in the major leagues for now less than 2 weeks. And the Red Sox, at the same time that they decide to call up their top prospect, are kind of going through something, right? You know, when they trade away their best player and got essentially a bag of peanuts for him. All right, yeah, like with Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, and Tibbs, all those, maybe slightly better than a bag of peanuts. But I don't think anybody can actually convince me or anyone that this was a great trade for Boston. Are they a team that now all of a sudden is just in flux, and are they on the road to rebuild? I keep asking this hypothetically because I'm not sure, but I see it actually being a real distinct possibility that we just see the Red Sox. This side, they're going to blow it up and be sellers, right? Casas is out for the season. Devers is gone, right? Injuries here. Prospects struggling. You know what? Maybe all of a sudden this is not the Red Sox year. Where does that leave Roman Anthony? Sure, they got him batting second in the order, and I like to see that. You know, it's definitely going to help his counting stats. It doesn't help him where instead of having a guy like Rafael Devers hitting behind him, you got a guy like Abraham Toro or Romy Gonzalez. And that's the lineup that they're rolling out here these days, really. We're going to Rob Refsnyder, Gonzalez, Carlos Narvaez, and I can't guarantee you that Jaron Duran is going to be in this lineup after the trade deadline. On the one hand, yeah, maybe it just means more at bats for Anthony, higher spot in the order. You know, he gets a chance to shine. Sure. But this does not make for an inspiring offense. That means lower chance for runs and RBIs. And I just don't feel quite as warm and fuzzy about a guy like Roman Anthony as I did before. And especially if there's a franchise that is just very confused and, you know, it just makes for a bad culture. And that does affect players. So I'm usually the first to say for a high-end prospect, you got to be patient and give them time. We've seen what's happened with Nick Kurtz, right? It takes time for these guys to figure out major league pitching and to get comfortable. This situation is a little bit unique. So bottom line, my panic level for Roman Anthony, I'm going to put it at an 8. And that might seem a little bit extreme, but I can see a scenario where he does get sent down pretty soon if he continues to struggle. or he just takes longer to figure things out than we would like. Do you have to hold him? No, I don't think you do. I'm not going to drop him for the sake of dropping him, but if you've got a guy like a Nick Kurtz or some high-end waiver wire pickup, somebody drops a player they shouldn't have dropped, you pick him up, it's okay. You don't absolutely have to hold Roman Anthony, but if you can afford to, I would still wait a little bit longer. All right, that's my take on some players who have been struggling lately. Now, on the flip side, you want to know about some surprisingly effective players who you might want to pick up on the waiver wire, especially if you're making moves. Well, check out the latest waiver wire video.